And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doing Podcast. My name is Brenden and Eric. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already and you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, help out the channel. And if you're listening on audio, subscribe wherever you get your audio podcast. I am joined by Mr. Eric Warrensy for our week 2 picks episode. Warrensy, looking good, rocking the Bears full gear, baby. Hat, t-shirt. Oh, yeah. You're bear down, baby, on this episode.
Bear down, baby. But congratulations are in order. I understand you picked up your 90-day chip today, so congrats to the big man over there. That's damn impressive, and keep it up, man.
Yeah, 91 days sober today, feeling hot, feeling good. It wasn't a chip, it was a marble, because they give marbles for because you lose your marbles at this meeting if you're in addiction. So that's what they gave. I get my actual chip on Friday, which I'm looking forward to, but appreciate that. Life is beautiful. If you're struggling with addiction, reach out to me. My DMs are open. I've talked to so many people already. It's been so fulfilling to be open and honest about this. But another congratulations should be in order for Brendo, because I take the W in our week 1 pick segment. 11-4 against the spread, 2-1 on the locks. Now, you didn't do too bad either. You were 8-7 against the spread and 1-2 in locks. But you're a big week 2 guy. Explain why you're a big week 2 guy.
Well, I got incredibly lucky to even be 1-2 on the locks, because it took the Lions to get a touchdown in overtime to cover that spread.
That's not lucky. It's not lucky.
Yeah, it was lucky. Let's call it what it is. But yeah, week 2 is one of my favorites because I like to look at overreactions, and this is actually a rare week 2 for me, where I don't know if the overreactions are really in the spreads. We saw offense was really down in week 1. I believe the average passing yards per quarterback was 188, which is really low. I think that was kind of because teams are now benching all their starters during preseason. So I thought the defenses had an edge in week 1, but where I'm actually, which is very rare for me, I'm an under guy. I think some of these totals are a little underinflated because offense was down week 1. I think now offenses with another week of preparation, I expect the offenses to be humming this week. So rare for me, but I think I'm attacking some overs on totals and some overs in the prop market.
A little different for you. You're known as the under guy. You like to sweat on an under on a prime time game. Makes me absolutely sick. Life is too short to bet the under. But Warrensy, are you ready to do this? Are you ready to attack? Before actually we do this, I have some serious beef with the NFL scheduling department. Scheduling 20 teams to play at 1 p.m. What are we doing here, Warrensy? This is insanity.
No, 1 p.m. is Red Zone's going to be a gong show. There's going to be so much going on, and then 4 p.m. you can bank on one of those 4 p.m. games probably being unwatchable. There's only 3 of them, so if it's unfortunate where there's 2 pretty dog water games, like, come on, like, you need 4 minimum. I'd prefer 5 at 4 p.m.
5. They take 2 games from 1 p.m. Have 16 teams play at 1 p.m. and then have 10 teams play at 4. What are we doing here? We called this out, I believe, in the offseason, because when I first got the schedule, this one caught my eye. Like, why the hell are 20 teams in week 2 playing at one time? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but anyways,
it's going to be chaos, but I'm here for it, I guess.
Let's dive in. First game, Saints at Cowboys. The Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites. They're coming off a big win against the Browns where they made Deshaun Watson look like a complete idiot. Dak Prescott in the offense was humming in the first half. They get a big win. Warrensy, what are you looking at in this one?
We're starting with one of my locks, and it is kind of a chalky pick, but I really like the Cowboys in this spot. One of the teams that I do think is overinflated because of their week 1 performance would be the New Orleans Saints. I took a lot more from the Carolina Panthers performance than I did the New Orleans Saints. And you were right. You called me out on my week 1 pick saying who's rushing the passer for the Panthers. And in my head, I thought, this Saints O-line is so bad, doesn't really matter. Boy, was I wrong, because Derek Carr had a clean pocket that whole entire game. I think it's going to be completely different this time. You saw what Mike Zimmer did with Parsons in week 1. He moved him around. He even had him standing up in the middle of the defense. I think Micah Parsons is going to feel out early in this game which offensive lineman he wants to attack. In the second half, he's just going to tee off on whoever he wants. I'm expecting it to be the right side against Penning, but I think that Derek Carr is going to have so much pressure in his face, and it's going to be a long, long day for the Saints. The line did move down to -6. Arps, did you say 6 or 6.5?
I did 6.5. So when I did all these picks, it was at 6.5.
Yeah, I'm seeing 6 now. So for the
we'll
sake of
give
the
you
lock,
6. We'll give you 6,
for
Warren
the
Z.
sake of the lock, I'm really liking the -6 here. But give me the Cowboys. They were a team that I was also impressed with week 1. Because I thought the Cleveland Browns were kind of a defense that could stop this Cowboys offense. They have a really elite pass rusher in Myles Garrett and a really sharp lockdown corner in Ward. So after seeing CeeDee Lamb torch Ward all day, Marshawn Lattimore's banged up. He hasn't practiced yet this week. I like Lamb in that matchup. I like this Cowboys offense. And on the flip side of things, I think if you're going to beat the Cowboys, you really need to get a pass rush. And I love Cam Jordan, but I don't think he's got it at this point in his career to really affect Dak. So I'm banging the drum on the Cowboys -6. Give it to me.
All right, we're out the gate with a lock right away. So the Cowboys, like you said, dominated the offensive line of the Browns. They generated the highest quarterback pressure rate of any defense in week 1, 42.5%. That was actually the highest of any defense over the last 5 years, Warren Z. So they got after Deshaun Watson, really affected that game. And you're right. When we were talking the Panthers-Saints game, we were like, the only way that Panthers have a chance here is if they get after the Derek Carr, because that's where their weakness is on the Saints, is the offensive line. They just didn't do that. Now, however, the Saints' new look offense was very interesting. They aligned under center 61% of the time. That was the most they've done under the Dennis Allen era. Derek Carr used play action on 39% of his dropbacks, and they were dead last in play action rate last season. So a completely new offense to kind of help out with the offensive line issues. And you said you took more from the Panthers in that game. Warren, the Saints are the number 1 DVOA team right now, the 7th highest DVOA ranked team out of week 1 in their history. I'm going to go the other way with this one. I'm going to go Saints +6.5. I think they can keep this one close. I get the pressure stuff. I think the offensive coordinator can kind of mix things up on the Saints, Clint Kubiak, to kind of keep it close. And you said Lattimore was injured. He did say he was okay. He hasn't practiced yet, but he said a couple days ago that he'll be fine and he'll play. So I'm really looking forward to that Lattimore-Lamb matchup, but I'm going to go against your luck. I'm going to take the Saints +6.5.
We're against each other. Game 1. What's new?
There we go. All right, Buccaneers at Lions. The Lions are hanging 7.5 points over the road Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Warren Baker absolutely cooking week 1, 24-30, 289 yards, 4 tutters. Led all quarterbacks in week 1 in EPA and success rate. The Rams had success against that Lions secondary last week. What are you looking at in week 2 with this game?
So it's week 2, and we already have a cluster injury in this game, and that would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive backs. We know all-pro safety, he was an all-pro snub last year, Antoine Winfield.
The worst all-pro snub maybe in NFL history.
He's arguably the best safety in the league. He is confirmed out. It looks like 3 cornerbacks have a chance of missing this game. I believe 1's already been ruled out and 2 are doubtful. So 4 players in this Tampa Bay secondary are likely to miss this game. If we got to it before it reached 7.5, I would have been all over the Lions and maybe thought about it as a lock. I'm still going to take them in the point spread for the sake of the show, but the 7.5 is scaring me because I do want to see this Lions passing game get humming before I believe they can take advantage of an injured secondary. Saw Amon-Ra St. Brown really kind of be invisible last week. I don't think that's going to happen this week. I like his props, Amon-Ra St. Brown, to go over his receiving yards, but 7.5 is a little too much for me to get there for a lock, but I am leaning Lions.
Okay, you're on Lions. I'm going to take the Buccaneers in this one +7.5. I actually like this matchup for the Bucs offense against the Lions defense. Baker Mayfield last week, 152 pass rating against cover 3. What do the Lions like to run a ton of on their back end? Cover 3. I think Baker's going to have a good game there. He has thrown for over 280 yards and 2 touchdowns in 6 of his last 7 games, dating back to last season. And that was one of the games against the Lions in the playoffs. Baker has not lost by more than 4 points, or has only lost by more than 7 points, in his Bucs career 4 times. So he's done a very good job at keeping games close when he's a quarterback at Tampa Bay. I get no Winfield Jr. and whatnot is a problem. That's why I think it's going to be a shootout. I think you expect a lot of points in this one. And a touchdown.
I was close to taking the over.
That,
as well.
When you said at the top that you were leaning on overs or looking at some overs, I thought this was one that you were going to take. Jalen McMillan Tutter plus 300. I think that's going to make my touchdown card. He got a lot of action in week 1 as a rookie. He dropped a touchdown. He had one
and
wide
had
open
one.
and had one as well. Plus 300 kind of caught my eye. I think there's going to be a ton of receiving touchdowns in this game, so keep an eye on that one. We're against each other in back-to-back picks here.
The Lions defense was a unit I was pretty disappointed in, to be honest. It looked like the same old Lions defense where the defensive backs were kind of struggling, but maybe just I want to give that unit more time. I do think it has top 12 potential. It got off to a rough start, but I definitely lean. I guess I would say I like the over in this game more than I like the spread.
Okay, next on the board, the Colts -3 road favorites heading into Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. All signs point to Malik Willis getting his first career start with the Green Bay Packers. He was just acquired a few weeks ago. The Packers decided not to go with a Ryan Tannehill to fill in for Jordan Love. You were talking about this game all week potentially being one of your picks. Are you going to lock it in? Are you riding with the Colts?
I sure am. I got -3 on the board now, which is what eventually got me to lock it in as one of my locks. And the drop from Jordan Love to Malik Willis, the spread moved 8 points, which is tied for the record since this type of data was started being kept in 2006. I think 8 points is a lot. I think it should be more personally because analytically, an 8-point drop in the spread is about a 50-place drop in terms of quarterback EPA per play. I think that Malik Willis is a bottom. I don't have Malik Willis in my top 75 quarterbacks. I really am shocked he's still in the league, to be honest.
75? That's a high number, but I'll buy it.
I don't think he should be in anybody's top 2 on their depth chart. The weakness of this Colts team is their secondary. They're down their top cornerback, likely for the season, which is a huge, huge loss.
Yeah, Juju Brent's done for the year. It looks like that's a massive one.
Massive loss, but I don't think Malik Willis is the guy that can take advantage of this. His accuracy is his biggest issue. I know he has a very small sample size, but in his career, he's only completed 50% of his passes. So even if the receivers are getting open, I don't think that's a guarantee that Malik Willis can get them the ball. I think they should have signed Ryan Tannehill, but by all accounts, Jordan Love's injury isn't that serious, and Ryan Tannehill is waiting for more of a longer-term option. I don't think he wanted to come into Green Bay and be a stopgap guy. And also on top of it, Malik Willis just got to Green Bay a couple of weeks ago. That's what I was saying.
Like, the reason that you don't really sign a quarterback off the street is we like the guy in our building because he's been there for a while. He knows our offense. That's not really the case with Malik Willis.
Yeah, Malik Willis is still getting up to speed by all accounts. And I do think if Jordan Love's injury was more serious, they would have gone to Ryan Tannehill. But I think they're trying to skate by this week and hope that Love can come back earlier than expected. But this is just a straight fade of Malik Willis for me. I really, really don't think we're going to get an opportunity to bet against quarterback play like this very much this year. And on the flip side of things, Green Bay struggled versus the run last week. What else is new? Could have been part of the field conditions being really slick, could have contributed to that. But I think Jonathan Taylor, who was bottled up by the Texans last year, has a nice matchup here. And give me some Richardson and Taylor run props as well. But I'm on Colts -3.
I wanted to point out that Jonathan Taylor has a tutter in his 7 straight games. He's only at -105 right now. So if you're looking for I think a very safe touchdown bet, I like that one as well. Since Saquon Barkley ran for 3 of them things last week, I'm gonna shock you here. Yeah, and caught one. No, caught one. 3 touchdowns in total. Hey, yeah, whatever. Still counts. It doesn't matter. Touchdown.
Yeah, I know.
I think that Matt LaFleur has to be in his bag in this game. I think you're gonna see a ton of wacky stuff with him. Maybe some more reverses, quick throws. I'm going to shock you here. I'm going to take the Packers +3. I'm not high on the Colts this year. Was not a preseason. I came away a little tiny impressed with Anthony Richardson. Like that was one of our main talking points on our takeaway episode was, can we chill out on the Richardson hype? I think the Packers defense can play better in this game than they did against the Eagles. They don't their style of defense, the man-to-man coverage, the heavy like press ya wide receivers beat us style defense fits a lot better against the Colts than it does against the Eagles there's no Devonta Smith and AJ Brown in this game. Matt LaFleur is just so good as a head coach. He's like 45-19 in his career. Second highest active head coach winning percentage in the NFL. I think he can get this done or just keep it close. So like maybe lose by a point or two. But I think this game stinks, and this is like one of the bottom ones that I'm confident in. But I'll fade you again. We're against each other in 3 in a row. I'll take the Packers plus 3.
Well, I don't like that I'm on 3 favorites out of the gate, but here we are.
That's what I've told you in the car today. I'm like, I'm on more underdogs than I thought. It was because at the beginning when I was doing my prep, I'm like, I was seeing a lot of plus signs here. Hey, it can go either way. The favorites did dominate in week 1, by the way.
They did.
So maybe that is a good sign. Okay, next on the board, we got the New York Jets on the road to play the Tennessee Titans. The Jets are 4-point road favorites. We didn't talk about the Monday night game in our takeaways. I want to kind of talk about it a bit. What did you make of Aaron Rodgers in his Jets debut?
His arm looked good. He looked like he still has a fastball on him, but I think this Tennessee defense is sneaky. I got a really good look at them last week. I watched every play of that Bears-Titans game, and L'Jarius Sneed looks like the true lockdown corner the Titans thought they were getting. Aaron Rodgers only threw to the left side of the field last week. It was
hilarious passing chart. Yeah, there's a meme of like him with like an eye patch on his right eye over top. Yeah. Like he did not even want to go near the right side of the 49ers defense.
So I think L'Jarius Sneed follows around Garrett Wilson, and I don't think he's going to completely shut him down by any means. But if he limits Garrett Wilson, I need to see more weapons on this Jets offense step up before I can be confident in taking the Jets against a good defense. And on the flip side of things, this Jets defense was very concerning. I know it was a Mike Shanahan-led offense, but they were getting bullied in the trenches. I kind of thought Tony Pollard had some juice last week. He might be back to his true form after a year recovering from his major foot injury. So this was a game I thought that the total was a little underinflated. So I do lean over 41 over anything. But for the sake of the show, I am going to take my first underdog here and give me the points with the Jets.
I just said Aaron Rodgers' debut. I'm laughing at myself because like kind of was his debut.
Yeah,
like
it was.
Last year didn't count, and I believe you did. You've done this like since we started podcasting. It's a Kyle Shanahan. You love mixing.
Oh my god!
couple
I
slip ups.
Mike and Kyle Shanahan and Jim and John Harbaugh mixed up every single time.
We're back, baby. We're back.
Oh
Wardsy, this is going to be my first lock. I'm taking the Titans +4. I was very concerned with the New York Jets in that game, especially the offensive line. I thought it looked old, tired. Aaron Rodgers' mobility was also a big concern. And I watched a little all 22 of the Bears-Titans game. And my God, Devondre Sweat, dude. Do the Titans have another? Do they have a superstar duo? Yeah. Like, do they have a superstar defensive tackle duo brewing there? Because he was amazing. His pass rush ability, like, really caught me off guard here. I think they're going to be able to work that interior of the Jets' offensive line. I thought the Jets' run defense was atrocious against the 49ers. They were 27th in success rate, 25th in EPA. Bottom of the league in both categories in week 1. And like the if Will Levis doesn't make stupid decisions in that Bears game, they probably win that one. I thought they played well enough. Yeah, they were the better team in that game. You get 4-point home underdog here, Warrensy, against a team that we just watched on a short week not look good. Fired me up, baby. Titans lock it in +4.
The crazy stat going around was the Bears became the 3rd team ever to be trailing by more than 2 scores at half and win the game without an offensive touchdown. And I had to do some digging, and I was right. My first gut instinct was that the game, one of those other 2 previous wins, the game where after Dennis Green had the legendary press conference, the Bears are who we thought they were. If you want to crown their ass, crown them. And it was one of those. So the Bears have now pulled off 2 wins without scoring an offensive touchdown when they're trailing by 2 scores at half. So that anytime I get a chance to watch that Dennis Green clip, I'm going to, and rest in peace to the legendary coach.
R.I.P. to the GOAT. You did a very good job of honoring him there. Congratulations. I wrote an article about how just like so many stats of the Bears win and how chaotic it was. Like Caleb Williams became the first quarterback in league history to have 25 plus pass attempts while under 100 yards passing, less than 3.2 yards per attempt, and 0 touchdowns and win the game. Like there were just stats like that littered. But hey, the Bears still pull it off. But in the sake of the show, let's get it back to it. Titans +4. Lock it in. All right.
Too.
All right, 49ers at Vikings. The San Francisco 49ers are 5.5-point favorites on the road. So another road favorite here. Few in a row. Warrensy, what do you make of this one?
So this one, I look back at last season because these teams did play, and it was Brock Purdy versus Brian Flores defense. We know Brian Flores loves to blitz. He led the league in blitzing last season. Last week, more the same. He was at 45%, which led the NFL. Blitzing Brock Purdy doesn't work. He's elite versus the blitz. And this offense did not skip a beat without Christian McCaffrey. This is a West Coast team going to the East Coast for an early start time on a short week. But I'm going to take this San Francisco offense. I think the way to beat them is not to blitz. And we know that Brian Flores is going to blitz. So give me the 49ers -5.
I was very, very impressed with Brock Purdy's game against the Jets. He got the ball out quickly. They were never in 3rd and longs. I think that's what the Minnesota Vikings. You have to find a way to get Brock Purdy on like a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. When that 49ers offense is just consistently moving the ball, like it just gets so hard for defenses to kind of handle that. So one of my notes here is just like, can they force the 49ers into 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 10s? Trevarius Ward was awesome for the 49ers last week as well. Basically, like we talked about, held off that one side of the field. I'm going to throw in a little bit of a curveball here with my locks. I'm going to go Justin Jefferson over 6.5 receptions in this game as one of my locks. So I was looking at it last time these two teams played. Jordan Addison had 7 catches for like 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was like his breakout game in his rookie season last year. If you're the Vikings, right, what do you have to do to beat this team? You're going to pepper your best player, right? You're going to try to get him the ball as much as possible. So Justin Jefferson has historically gotten over 7 catches in 51% of his games. So you get that there. And I just think he's going to get the ball a ton. I think they're going to pepper him early, pepper him often, and I think they're going to be down in this game, and he's going to get some like late catches and whatnot. They're going to have to try to come from behind. So like the 49ers -5 is as my spread pick. My lock, though, Justin Jefferson over 6.5 receptions.
I don't mind it.
First prop, eh? I did 3 spreads last week. Did a spread already. Mix in a lock. So we each have 2 locks out the gate already. All right, next up, the best game of the week by far. The New York Giants had to play the Washington Commanders.
You got me with that one. I was like, wait, where are we going here?
Just talk to me, Wardsy. What do you think?
So this was a game this was probably my 4th lock. It didn't end up making my card, and it would have been the over in this game of over 43.5. And I think I'm going to be betting overs in this against this Washington team pretty heavily. They were dead last in EPA per play as a defense last week. Unfortunately, the Giants offense was second last in offensive EPA per play, so that's kind of what's holding me back. But I do think Daniel Jones' offense can be league average because Washington's defense is that bad. And on the other side of things, the Giants' defense is nothing to really write home about. Look for Terry McLaurin to get involved. He was a ghost last week. I think they try to get him involved often and early. So I really like McLaurin props, and I like over in general. Oh, for the spread, though, I guess you got to take one of these teams. I really don't want to.
Someone has to win this game, Warrensy. That is correct.
Someone has to win this game. I'm going to take the Giants and the points plus 1.5 because I have to take one of them. And I do think the Giants are going to bounce back a little bit after that really embarrassing loss last week. But I got to know if they're wearing proper jerseys this time. If I turn on the TV and they're wearing awful jerseys, I'm going to hate that pick.
The Montreal Canadiens, a.k.a. the New York Giants. Oh, just the worst jerseys in the world. There's a reason why they were made in 1940, right? Like, that's what the throwback, that's what bugs me about the throwbacks. Like, there's a reason why that they were made that long ago and they're not wearing them anymore, okay? Like, some throwbacks I'm okay with, but majority of them can just go in the fucking garbage. Okay, there's my throwback.
Couldn't agree more.
Speaking of the Washington Commanders offense, like you said, with the McLaurin thing, I need to see a better game plan from Cliff Kingsbury because it was bad in week 1. So many screen passes. It felt like a college offense. What killed me is Terry McLaurin lined up on 87% of his snaps on the left side of the field, which led all wide receivers by a wide margin. Olamide Zaccheaus, 84% of his snaps on the right side, by far led all receivers. We're back to the Arizona thing again, where he just has one guy on one side of the field, doesn't move him around. He did this with DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. I hope this is not what we're getting every single week because Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, is too talented to not push the ball down the field and not to mix things up. So I'm really focused, or just eyeing, I guess, to see how this Washington offense moves. I'm going with the Commanders -1.5, and I have in my notes here that I hate it because I don't know who to pick in this game. I think there's a scenario here where the Giants' defensive line dominates and gets after Daniels and makes them uncomfortable. So, but I just think the Commanders are probably the better team, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah, I'm taking Giants because I have to, not because I like it.
All right, another fun team that had just dominated week 1 and was just lighting things up. Their Carolina Panthers are hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are 4.5 point road favorites. Tons of road favorites in this game or this week. It's kind of what I noticed. The big Carolina Panthers news is Derek Brown is out for the season. Just like the shittiest luck for this team. He is literally their best player. After just getting obliterated by the New Orleans Saints, your best player is now done for the year. What do you make of Jim Harbaugh and the boys on the road to Carolina?
Jim Harbaugh definitely impressed me with his week 1 game plan. It was basically, we're just going to be tougher than you. That's his motto. His team looks like they've really embraced that style of football. This spread has been really interesting. Before week 1 games were played, this was a -2.5 spread for the Chargers. It went all the way up to 6.5 after the week 1 results. And then I guess some people thought that was a bit of an overreaction and why it's dropped down to 4.5, meaning money's coming in on the Panthers. I don't know if people who are putting their hard-earned dollars on the Panthers might not have watched week 1 because I just put money on fire by betting on this team week 1. So I texted you and I said, please remind me every single week not to bet on the Panthers.
Do it again, man. Do it again. Why not? Do it for the show.
For the sake of the show, I am going to take the Panthers and the points, but there's no way any of my hard-earned dollars will be bet on Bryce Young until we see some sort of improvement. I'm really worried about this defense without Brown. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney was added to this defensive line. I think he tried for 2 snaps last week and then looked around and said, what am I doing here? And it wouldn't be the first time Jadeveon Clowney's mailed it in on a team. There's a reason he's bounced around on these 1-year deals, and it's because you don't know what type of effort you're getting from the guy. So I'm not betting Carolina for quite some time, although I do think the spread rising to the 6.5 was a way overreaction. But now that it's sitting at 4.5, I'm still going to take the points, but I think 4.5 is where the spread should be.
Yeah, when I was looked at the spreads earlier in the week, I was going, okay, like I like the Chargers here. Like, why wouldn't I not bet against the Carolina Panthers? More I thought about it, the Chargers still don't have, they're not the most talented team in the world. They had a nice week 1 win. Now they got to go on the road to Carolina, and kind of like just a gambler's. It's in the gambler's Bible. Like the team that gets destroyed 1 week most likely will bounce back and play better the next week. The thing is with the Panthers, like I just don't know what the talent is. Like, who am I trusting to make plays here? Derek Brown was like the guy on defense to make plays. Are the Chargers going to run for 250? That's definitely a scenario. I'm going to go with the Chargers -4.5. I trust that team to just win by a touchdown. Now, I do think the backdoor covers in play. That was another thing I was thinking about. Like, if they're up by 10, the Panthers drive down the field, score a touchdown late. But I don't love it. This was one of my least favorite games of the week.
For sure.
Okay, next on the board before we go to break, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Cleveland Browns. They're 3-point favorites, and I don't think I've ever seen a bigger choke job from a team. Well, actually, what am I talking about? There's choke jobs all the time, but this one was spectacular. The Jacksonville Jaguars were up 17-7 at halftime. Their next possessions were punt, fumble, turnover on downs, punt. They end up losing 20-17 to the Miami Dolphins. That's a game that they absolutely should have won. Deshaun Watson's looking to just quiet the haters because he's been doing it on his Twitter account, Leroy Backensteyer or something like that. We brought it up on our other episode. The burner account, which is I'm like 100% sure it's him now. I said 82% last week. It's 100% now. This is him. Big week for him. They could go really wrong if he doesn't play well, and it could get ugly in Cleveland. What do you make of the Jags hosting the Browns?
So, my first thing I look at when I am handicapping games is the trenches. And I think both defensive lines have great matchups in this game. Myles Garrett dominated a rookie tackle last week in Guyton, but this week he has a second-year tackle in Anton Harrison for the Jags, who was just downright awful in week 1. He wasn't good as a rookie last year, but the book on Harrison was he probably needed a year to sit. He might need 2 years to sit because he's shown no signs of improvement. So I really do think that the Cleveland defensive line can get pressure on Trevor Lawrence, who, like you mentioned, in the second half was 3 of 7 for 30 yards. I can't get a read on Trevor Lawrence. Like, the touchdown pass to Brian Thomas was a thing of beauty. There's only you can count on 2 hands how many people in the world can make that throw.
Very sexy toss.
He just lays an egg in the second half. But on the flip side of things, I think this Jaguars defensive line can get after a really banged up offensive line of the Browns. Jedrick Wills is going to miss this game. Tyler Conklin, I believe, is going to miss this game. We are recording on Thursday, so he might be a late add to this. But if he plays, he's not clear to be 100%. And I think Josh Allen Hines is he's emerging to me as a elite pass rusher. I think he gets pressure in this game. Both these quarterbacks, Watson and Lawrence, their deltas of being facing when faced with pressure and not with pressure are very dramatic. So if both these quarterbacks are getting pressured, I don't think there's going to be a lot of points. So I'm holding my breath and taking the +3 here. I don't like it whatsoever, but you said it on the last game. When a team in week 1 plays awful, they're not going to play as bad week 2, right? They have to play better, but there's a chance that the Browns locker room is just giving up on Deshaun Watson.
Very true. Like, who knows? The bottom might not be hit yet. And I think with the Panthers, it can't really get much worse, but I do think with the Browns, because he's $230 million man, there's so much drama surrounding it. I do think it could actually get worse for the Browns. I did not like this game at all to pick. I went with the Jaguars -3. Something I'm looking at here is I think the Jaguars just got way too conservative in the second half. They stopped pushing the ball deep. Trevor Lawrence on quick passes was 4-7 for 47 yards. His fewest yards on quick passes since week 17 of 2021. Dougie P, we got to push the ball down the field, man. What are we doing here? The Jags have also lost 4 of the last 5 games by 3 points or less. This team has just been completely frustrating. I think this is a very good opportunity for the Jaguars to kick some ass. I think the defense, it was one of the better units almost in the NFL last week. Under talked about. Ryan Nielsen had those boys playing very hard. Underrated defensive line. So I do believe top corner Tyson Campbell's expected to miss this game, though. He's on IR. He's on IR now. One quick note here. Myles Garrett popped up on the injury report with a foot injury. He did not practice on Thursday. So he practiced Wednesday and was a DNP on Thursday. So we don't really know what's going on there yet. There hasn't been a lot of concrete reporting on it, but something to keep an eye on. But I don't like my Jags pick either. You don't like your Browns pick either. So we're both kind of saying stay away. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back to finish off the 1 o'clock games, get to the 4 o'clock games, and then the night games.
The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with a professional licensed therapist you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.
And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast, giving you our week 2 picks. Next up on the 1 o'clock slate is the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. They're 8.5-point favorites. Warren Z, you think Lamar and the boys can bounce back after kind of a disappointing opening week against the Kansas City Chiefs?
There was areas of concern for this Ravens offense and defense, but at the end of the day, you do have to remember they're playing the Chiefs, and Andy Reid had long time to prepare. So the difference between Andy Reid and Antonio Pierce cannot be understated.
It's a pretty big head coaching difference.
Pretty big gap there. I really like the Ravens for my survivor pick this week. I think it is the safest. I do think they get in the win column. Covering 8.5 is a completely different story, because I would say the most glaring issue for the Ravens will be this offensive line, and Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby are still on that defensive line of the Raiders. They're going to get after Lamar. It'll just be, can Lamar escape those sacks and turn them into positive plays with his legs? I'm going to take the Ravens minus 8.5 because I just do not trust Gardner Minshew and the Raiders. But again, a high spread like this, I don't feel great about it. Backdoor is always in play.
Yeah, I have the Ravens minus 8.5 as well. I didn't make it my lock, but I do like them just to win the game. I think 8.5 is a lot of points. I'm not a big fan of taking big spreads to lock them in. Lamar Jackson needs to get a better blocking from his offensive line. I do think there's one area of this game that does concern me for Baltimore. It's the offensive line. Like it was bad against the Chiefs. They could not stop on the anyone, especially on the right side of the line. Daniel Falele allowed 6 pressures. The right tackle position's kind of up in the air. So if you're a Ravens fan, you really hope Lamar kind of just stays in the pocket and can deliver some better throws, because he scrambled at a 19.5% rate in week 1, Warnsey. That was the highest in a game since 2021. So you don't want to see that if you're a Ravens fan. You want to see your quarterback stay healthy and not have to take those hits. But I think the Ravens get it done. I think the Ravens defense flashes heavy in this game. I think they kind of remind people of how good they are, and they play better and hold them to like 3 to 7 points, something like that. Okay, final 1 o'clock game is the New England Patriots host the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are 3.5 point road favorites. Like I said, so many road favorites this week. The Seahawks got off to a rough start against the Broncos. Couple safeties. It was a 10-point. The Broncos had 10 points, I believe, at one point. They were off 2 safeties and 2 field goals. You'd never really see that in the NFL, but they end up getting it done against Denver. What do you make of this one?
These are 2 teams I wish weren't playing each other, because I love fading a rookie head coach who gets his first win. Kind of hard to match that energy week 2, but the problem is both these teams have rookie head coaches coming off their first win. Throw in the travel for Seattle. This is the second longest flight a team could have in the NFL, not including an international game, going from Seattle all the way across the East Coast to New England. So historically, Pete Carroll was really good in these early start times on the West Coast. We don't know what McDonald's record will be. So I'm going to take the points because we're getting the hook at 3.5. My favorite bet in this game would actually probably be DK Metcalf's under. And I think that Christian Gonzalez is going to emerge as a superstar corner. I think he's going to follow around Metcalf. So that's my favorite bet in this game. As for the spread, I won't be betting it personally, but I'm going to take the 3.5 points and hold my nose.
So the Patriots really uglied that Bengals game up. They held the Bengals only 8 possessions. They ran the ball well. I don't think Seattle's defense is going to allow that to happen. I think Seattle's defense looked pretty damn good. They were top 10 in basically every single defensive metric. I think it's a sneaky good defense that a lot of people weren't talking about. They all thought the talent wasn't there compared to the Ravens last year. I think there's a ton of talent to be had here with one of the best defensive coaches, if not the best defensive coach in the NFL. The way I'm talking, it sounds like I'm locking this one in, and I am. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks minus 3.5. I think they're just 3.5 points better than the Patriots. When we were talking about overreactions to week 1, I think this is one of them. I think this spread's a little too low. I was surprised when I saw 3.5. I think the Seahawks win by a touchdown comfortably. When that offense started going the second half, Geno and the boys were cooking that Broncos defense. Like, it took a while to get going, but when it got going, it did. And the Patriots don't have the horses the Broncos do in their front 7 to get after the quarterback. They already traded Judon. Keon White played really well, don't get me wrong, but Charles Cross was phenomenal for the Seahawks last week. He was PFF's highest graded tackle. He's a kind of emerging star for the Seahawks. I think they roll in this one. I think they win by a touchdown plus. So my final lock is the Seattle Seahawks minus 3.5.
They are down to their 3rd string right tackle, so I believe George Fant is heading to IR. So I thought that Seahawks offensive line did get bullied at times in the game. If Gerard Mayo commits to stopping the run. Can Gino beat a team with his arm? You know how I feel about that. I really think Gino needs the run game to be going for him to really have success. So I'm taking the points, but I don't love it. You like Seahawks a lot more than I like the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. All right, we finally ended the 1 o'clock window after we've been here for 3 hours. It's insane. It actually makes me insane how many 1 o'clock games there are. Okay, 4 o'clock window starts. Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Wardsey, the Redbirds are favorites in this game over the Rams.
Wow. What world are we living in?
Yeah, what's going on here? Do you know why? Because the Rams IR list is like my mom's grocery list at Costco on a Friday. It's pretty bad. They got Steve Avila on IR, Noteboom IR, Puka Nacua IR. They just cannot stay freaking healthy. Warrensy, what do you make of this NFC West matchup?
Yeah, you mentioned the injuries there, and that's kind of why I'm leaning Arizona. I think this offense has a lot more area to improve. I know you saw 28 points last week against the Bills. Remember, 7 of those did come off a kickoff return, but Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't even been implemented to this offense yet. I really didn't like Kyler Murray's comments this week. Did you see where a reporter asked him, hey, what's going on with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Why didn't you get him the ball? And he basically just said, don't look at me, look at the coaches. Then
it was kind of taken out of context. I saw it when I was working. It was it came off worse on social media than it actually was. I'll tell you that. It was a headline.
Okay, yeah, I can buy that. But I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a much bigger part of this game plan. And on the flip side of things, I don't think Cooper Kupp's going to see 21 targets again.
Warden, he ran 50 routes. 50. That's the most in a game in 2 years. The usage was insane.
It was insane. So my favorite bet in this game is actually going to be a prop. It's actually going to be tight end Colby Parkinson to be involved. I like his yards and his receptions to go over because I think this offense is going to spread the ball out a lot more. And this Arizona defense has holes. So I like DeMarcus Robinson to also get involved in this game. He really emerged after Puka went out.
Tyler Johnson was the guy. He out of nowhere, my Minnesota boy, my draft crush, finally came to fruition.
So I'm leaning Cardinals in this. I don't love it because I was really impressed with Sean McVay making the most of a bad situation last week. Should be easier for him now that he knows what injuries he's dealing with to make a game plan rather than adjusting on the fly like he did last week. But I do think this Arizona Cardinals team has room to improve as well. So I'm taking the Cardinals, but this didn't come close to making my card.
So the Arizona Cardinals really need to run the ball in this game, kind of copy what the Lions did in that overtime where just pound the rock. The Cardinals got away from the run in the second half. It didn't work as well as it did in the first couple of drives against the Bills. So that's kind of a game plan focus that they should be having in that building. You stole my Colby Parkinson one. I like him anytime touchdown plus 380. He's going to make my card this week. He ran the most routes of any tight end in the NFL last week. Everyone was focused on Isaiah Likely on waivers. I said, no, I got my eyes on Colby Parkinson. Give me $5 fab. Get him on my team. So I think plus 380 is really juicy for him. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. An interesting stat that I found is last season, the Cardinals allowed the league high in EPA per dropback when their opponents use motion. The Rams use a ton of motion. So I think this offense for the Rams matches well against the Cardinals defense. I think, you know what, I'm going to go with the Cardinals minus 1.5. I don't love it. I think they're going to win. I think they're just, I like the Cardinals better than I did the Rams this offseason. I picked them to make the playoffs, so I got to stick with that. But I think it's going to be a really close game. I think the Cardinals win by a field goal, like 33-30, something crazy like that. I think we're going to see a ton of points.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But I'm heavier on the Parkinson props, so I like that we
Colby, buddy.
Agree with that.
Colby, buddy, you're a fan favorite on the doink. Don't let us down. All right, let's continue on the 4 o'clock slate. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another road favorite heading to Mile High to take the Denver Broncos. 2.5-point favorites. What do you make of Bo Nix in his home debut?
Ooh, it was ugly, and it doesn't get any easier versus Pittsburgh front seven, which really was feasting last week. I kind of expect more of the same from them. this was another total that when I looked at it, I saw 36. I thought, oh, that's really low. But then I kind of thought about it, and I don't know if the Steelers are going to score a touchdown either.
Did you watch the Falcons and Steelers game? I think that's why the total's pretty low.
Yeah, but I messed up last week taking the Falcons, and I'm going to stick with a formula this season. And when the Steelers are underdogs, I'm going to take them. When the Steelers are favorites, I'm going to fade them. So that would mean I'm taking the Broncos. I don't love it this week, but I'm really sticking to my guns here and banking on the Mike Tomlin as a underdog is electric versus the spread. Doesn't do as well as a favorite, so that's my only reasoning for taking the Broncos, but I really don't feel good about backing Bo Nix versus front seven.
Yeah, poor Bo Nix. Like your first game's against Mike McDonald, then you have the Steelers coming to town. Just not the easiest slate of defenses to play. The Justin Fields is set to get his second straight start for the Pittsburgh. His passing chart was hilarious. If you watch it, like the middle of the field was lava. Did not attack it at all. Arthur Smith came in a press conference and said that was by design. They wanted to stay far away from Jesse Bates. I thought that was interesting. You know what? Good coaching by Arthur Smith. It ended up working out. The Steelers ended up winning the football game. Something that I also found interesting in this one, the Broncos blitzed at the highest rate in the NFL last week. Warranty 50% of Seattle's dropbacks. The Broncos sent pressure. Can they keep that up? That's a lot. That's kind of unheard of in the NFL.
That was a Bo Nix.
Not Bo Nix, Gino.
Or
it's
sorry,
Gino.
Yeah.
Blitzing the other way. I just thought that was super fascinating. I know Vance Joseph is known to blitz and send guys, but 50% is pretty crazy. I like the Steelers in this game. I'm taking the -2.5. All 5 Broncos offensive linemen led at least 2 pressures last week. Mike McGlinchey led 5. I think TJ Watt, wrecks this one. I feel bad for Bo Nix. Give me the Steelers -2.5. All right. Is that one more 4 o'clock game? How can we forget about this one? The Kansas City Chiefs host the Cincinnati Bengals. Probably the best game of the week. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites. Eric Warnsey, can Joe Burrow bounce back here?
I think they can bounce back, but only a little. That's why my last lock of the week is here, and it's over 48. I think that this Kansas City offense has green lights everywhere. We talked on our recap episode about how worried we are about this Bengals run defense. And if the Kansas City Chiefs can establish the run, good night, because that just means green lights everywhere. Xavier Worthy was really implemented well into this lineup, and now they're adding another speedster in Marquise Brown, who's expected to be back this week. I don't know if the Chiefs punt in this game. And on the flip side of things, Cincinnati finished 24th in EPA per play last week. If they can just be league average, I think this goes over 48. So for the spread, I am going to take the Chiefs because, like I mentioned, I don't think they punt, but I like over 48 much more because backdoor is in play.
So Hollywood Brown is probably not going to play. Actually, he did not practice today. There was optimism that he was going to play, but he hasn't practiced the last 2 days, so that's probably not a good sign. All reports said he's not going to suit up. Did you see the T. Higgins stuff? So Ben Baby of ESPN, easily my favorite beat writer name of all time, Ben Baby. He's the Bengals guy. Yeah, Ben Baby. Bengals guy. He got a one-on-one with T. Higgins, and T. Higgins actually asked him to do it. Like, I need to get my story out. He was telling fans, like, I'm not faking an injury, guys. Like, this is a real injury, because fans think he's faking it because of the contract stuff. Also doesn't sound like he's going to play. The Bengals have to push the ball down the field more, Warnsey. Burrow 5.6 yards per attempt. He only attempted one 10-plus yard throw over the middle against the New England Patriots. Again, middle of the field's lava. I don't know what's going on there. His expected completion percentage was 77, the highest of any quarterback this week. Like, dude, attempt some harder throws. You're Joe Burrow. Like, let's go here, man. Yeah. You're the top 5 quarterback. You gotta push the ball deep. I actually think that the overreaction of the Bengals is one of my biggest takeaways. I think the Bengals offense is going to be just fine. However, the Kansas City Chiefs defense is very similar with the Patriots run. The Patriots sat back and covered 2 on 35% of their dropbacks in week 1, the 4th highest rate that Burrow's ever seen in his career. Burrow's 1-6 when he sees cover 2 at a higher percentage than 30. So that pushed me away from them winning. However, I do think the Bengals cover this one. 5.5 points is too many. I think the Bengals are good. Like, I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to fight all year. If they start 0-2, that's not a usually good sign for playoff teams, but the Bengals, I think, are too talented. Maybe they don't win the game, but I think they cover 5.5.
All right. So you got one lock left then, right?
I have all my 3 locks are on the board, baby.
Okay, you did. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. All right, Warnsey, I don't know if this probably clicked in for you, but both our teams are on primetime this week. and yours is up first. The Houston Texans are on the road, they're hosting the Chicago Bears. They're 6.5-point favorites. Rome Odunze and Keenan Allen did not practice on Thursday. It sounds like they're going to be missing both them. Caleb Williams is already shorthanded on the outside. Do you think your boy, Mr. Save Eric Warner's life, can bounce back after a very shaky rookie debut?
I do think Caleb Williams bounces back. That's one of the obvious takeaways from week one, is that I'm hoping week one was the worst game of his career, not only worst game of his season. I think that could be the worst game of his career. And hey, the Bears are 1-0 going into Houston. I'm very worried about the matchup versus D'Amico Ryans. Like I said earlier, Houston really bottled up Jonathan Taylor last week. They were stacking the box quite a bit, so I do hope that the Bears offensive line can move around some more bodies, get some more running lanes for DeAndre Swift to help Caleb Williams, put him in more third and manageable situations. I just think there's too many points, so I'm taking the 6.5 and holding my nose here, hoping that the Bears can come out with a win. But on the flip side of things, I don't think Houston's going to be able to run the ball at all. The Bears are pretty good versus the run. They were last week. Andrew Billings is just a one-man run stuffer right now. He's doing really, really well against the run. So on the flip side, I think CJ Stroud is going to be in more third and longs. And this Bears secondary has talent. I think that they can slow down this Houston offense. So I just think 6.5 is too many points. So give me the Bears.
I'm with you on the plus 6.5. This one almost made my lock. I think we're getting a Caleb bounce back. I think he's going to show people why he was a number one overall pick. I think this Texans defense can be had in this one, even without Rome Odunze and Keenan Allen if they don't play. DJ Moore touchdown plus 195 is going to make my card 100%. Like, that's way too juicy of a number for a number one wide receiver in this game. And if you were to fade the Bears, we have to talk about your interior of your offensive line, because it got destroyed by the Titans. Coleman Shelton, Warrensy, are we worried about a Coleman Shelton already? Bears, death taxes in the Bears center play being trash?
Yeah. We did give Sweat some flowers. Him and Simmons were a wrecking crew. I don't know if the Texans have the interior defensive line to really abuse the interior of the Bears offensive line like the Titans did last week. But I'm going to be nervous every single game the Bears play this season because there's finally something on the line. I just think 6.5 is a bit of an overreaction to how bad the Bears offense was last week, because I'm really banking on that being their worst game of the season.
I'm with you. We're both on Bears plus 6.5. All right, let's finish it off. Monday Night Football. My Birds, first game at the Link this season, host the Atlanta Falcons. They're 6.5-point favorites. We spent a solid 15 minutes ripping the Falcons offense on our takeaway show from week one. Do you think Kirko Chains and the boys can bounce back against the Birds?
I do. I like the points in this game. I think the spread's a little bit too high. This is another game where I think the total is a little bit lower than what I would have made it. So I like the over 47 more. I think both offenses have success. And I do think the Falcons, just from a game plan perspective, are going to be better. The whole world knows how embarrassing that game plan was last week. I think you're going to see more play action on first down, which is just a basic fundamental part of offense. The league average of play action on first down is 33%. Falcons used it 10% of the time last week. So I think just with a better game plan, you're going to see a better Falcons offense. And I like the Eagles matchup on the flip side of things. I don't think that this new and improved Falcons defensive line with Judon is going to get pressure. So give me the over anything, but I'm also locking in the plus 6.5.
I'm on the Eagles minus 6.5. I think they roll. I predicted 31-14 on my Eagles preview show. Now, I picked the Eagles to lose in week one. Now I picked them to roll, so the football gods are obviously going to flip the other way. I just need to see an Eagles dominant win. They haven't beat a team by more than 7 points in quite a while since the Miami Dolphins. I think that was week 6 of last season, but I think there's a lot going for them. I think the pass rush of the Eagles is going to have a day. I think Jalen Carter is going to be on full display. I thought he played such a good game, just couldn't get there. Like, he had some just dominant reps on tape against the Packers. And I think the Falcons offense is what it is. I think this is the team you're going to see. I don't think they're going to make adjustments. I think this is the offense that they're going into the season with, and it's going to stay. The Steelers had a 40% pressure rate last week against the Falcons. I think the Eagles D-line, like I said, is going to take advantage of this skeptical, brutal game plan that Zach Robinson and the Falcons offensive brass have come up with. And Kirk O'Chains is 7-22 on primetime. The Eagles have had his number in his career. I think the Eagles are 3-0 against him. So I like the Birds to roll to finish it off. All right, we're done. 15 games in the books.
Alrighty, what are your locks?
All right, my locks: the Tennessee Titans +4 against the New York Jets. Justin Jefferson over 6.5 receptions, and the Seattle Seahawks -3.5 against the New England Patriots. Warren Z, what are yours?
I'm on a fade of Malik Willis, so give me the Colts -3. I'm on Dak and the boys. Give me the Cowboys -6, and I am on the over 48 in the Bengals Chiefs.
All right, listeners, hope you hit that subscribe button already. Like we said, give the video a like and follow our bets. We're obviously going to cash, and tune into our week 2 takeaways episode that will be up later this week. If you were looking for some Eagles content, listen to me and Thomas Peterson. We dove down the Falcons game. We recapped the Eagles-Packers game. Tons of content on the Double Doink podcast. So again, please hit the subscribe button. Until then, we'll talk to you later.